don't quit when you don't pass the audition, when you're told no, because if you quit when you're told no, when you're told it's not your time, not you right now, if you quit then, it was never your dream to begin with. Welcome back to The Samantha Show. I'm your host, Samantha. You can call me Sam. Just don't call me Sammy. And I'm here with an old friend, old cycle bar rider. It's kind of weird how all of my connections come from this world of cycling. But I'm here with Sidney Depp. And she is the gorgeous sports reporter who is going to continue our conversation about women who work in male-dominated spaces. And we know for sure that sports is a male-dominated space. Although women are coming through hard. Like lately, I've been hearing so much chatter. I already was talking to Sidney. I'm not too up to date with my sports news and teams, but I have been hearing a lot about women trying to make a wave in the sports industry. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that. But first, welcome Sidney, the podcast host, but now she's the guest to The Samantha Show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, so Sidney, you had kind of explained this to me, but tell me a little bit about who you work for, what you do, what your job title is, and then we'll get into a little bit of your background and how you got to this place. But just so that listeners know, what is your title? What do you do? Who do you work for? We were talking a little bit about before, but go ahead and explain it to our listeners.
So I'm pretty young in my career. I graduated in December of 23, so I'm still trying to figure it out. Every day is like trial and error and just getting reps in front of the camera. But I'm currently working for 502 Circle, the NIL collective with the University of Louisville here in Kentucky. And the collective actually has a media company. It's called Floyd Street Media, because in the NIL space, in the sports industry, it's constantly changing. There's a big decision coming in April for anybody that knows about NIL, but dealing with court issue.
Not me. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I know, I specified anybody that knows. But yeah, so constantly changing, something new every single day. But I'm on-air talent for Floyd Street Media company owned by the collective. And so it's just super fun. I have a podcast there. I do some short form content, weekly recaps on, baseball, men's basketball, women's basketball. Right now we're heading into March Madness. So like demands are high, but it's really, really fun and I'm really enjoying it.
That's amazing. So we had connected a little bit about how when you go into something, you're all in, you're passionate about it, but take us down kind of this journey in this road. Did you always know that you wanted to be in media? Did you always know that you wanted to specifically be in sports media? Are you in your hometown? Where'd you go to college? Just give us a little bit of like your story.
Absolutely. So ever since I was younger, I've always admired athletics. I love the energy around athletics, whether it's, cycle bar, we kind of have a pass there. Everybody in there is like mission-minded, bettering themselves. Well, that's kind of how it translates really well over to sports, because all the athletes, all the coaches, all the support staff, everyone that really works in sports, think of it like this. Everyone's kind of on the same team. You're all rooting for your unit, whether you're, Tennessee or Louisville or Ohio State or Kentucky or whatever, or an NFL team or baseball, whatever. Everybody's kind of on the same team, everyone that you work with. And so when I was younger, I know you have some pageant experience now, and I love that. I was Miss Teen Ohio when I was 15. And so
wait, did I know this? That's like a big deal. That's like if people don't know, like that's a big title, okay?
Oh geez, I'm flattered. I'm gonna blush.
Amazing. Okay, sorry, continue.
You're good. So when I was 15, I was Miss Teen Ohio. So really at a young age, I was getting a lot of media exposure and opportunities to talk in front of large crowds and groups of people and on a stage and with judges and all sorts of things. So I was traveling, talking to people, and I kind of thought to myself, I'm kind of good at this. I'm a good communicator, and people would tell me that. And so it was really cool, and I learned a lot about myself at a young age. So it was always my dream to be on-air talent within sports, whether it's for an organization, for a team, for a media outlet like ESPN. It was always my dream to be on-air talent, communicate with people, whether it's in person or through a screen. And really, I loved storytelling. So I went to college at UT, the University of Tennessee, the real UT, I'm going to specify that. and I studied journalism and electronic media with a concentration in sports. So while I was there, I worked in football recruiting, and then I worked in media, and then I graduated early, so I worked for almost a year full time with their post-production, social media teams, and videography, everything. So
I think I
was
remember
doing
seeing this part of your story on social media.
on socials. Yes, I'm
Yes.
sure I was
Yes.
reposting everything.
Yes.
But I would, I worked in production of podcasts and made Jumbotron videos for, halftime or timeouts in the Neyland Stadium and just different things. I would shoot real time content at softball games or baseball, football, all the things. And so I was kind of getting little snippets of post production and producing. But after I finished my time there, I could have stayed longer, but I decided to leave because I was like, I love this. I'm passionate about it. I'm all in on it. But I know I was meant to be on-air talent. That's been my passion all along, and I'm not going to give up on that just because I'm enjoying, something else. Because ultimately, it's my passion about sports and storytelling that I love, that I need to chase. And so I didn't want to give up on my dreams. So I landed my current job that I kind of already shared about a little bit, but I love it. I'm in the studio every day. I'm talking to different athletes, different teams, people from different backgrounds, and I'm really just doing what I've always felt called to do, which is build the bridge between the fan base and the athletes. Because growing up, this is really my key here. Like growing up, I would always watch people watch sports. I mean, I would watch the sport, but who you're with, their commentary, you're listening, you're observing. And I would always see people just objectify the athletes and talk about how, oh my gosh, they're terrible, or you suck, or like just talk down to these people that are 18 years old. Like some of these kids are still kids out there in college athletics. And so many times I would just be like, oh my gosh, what the heck? And my brother was a student athlete and played football and soccer and all the things. And so he's 8 years older than me. I watched him growing up, and I was like, there's so much about sports and about these athletes that nobody knows. And so once you learn something about an athlete or watch a podcast that they did and realize like, oh, they have a Cocker Spaniel like me, or hey, when they were younger, they were raised by a single mom, or they grew up and helped their little brother do this or do that, or you don't know anything about their story. But once you see that side of it, you watch the game or the track meet or whatever it is, you watch it so differently with a different perspective, and you can almost connect with them on a level rather than just watching them objectively for their sport. So that's my passion, and that's really what I want to do.
Yeah, you're humanizing the athlete, and I think that's such a great way to articulate that I hadn't thought about, but I have certainly, I think, felt, but have never been able to say what I feel when I watch my husband watch the Bengals, and he's so angry at them, and then he loves them, and then he's like mad at them, and I'm like, but they're still people. Like, like you can't, or the way like he'll like wear the same shirt if they're on a winning streak, and I'm like, you think it's your shirt? Like somebody's actually physically playing this game,
Yes.
So
they're like,
more
wait,
credit
he's
where
wearing that shirt today. We have to win.
We gotta win. Yeah, I'm like, okay, you can wash it, babe. Like, it's fine. It's starting to smell. So, well, I think that's a really beautiful reason to share stories and want to go into this. You had mentioned that you are young in your career. You are working in a male-dominated field. You're in the world of sports. I think that things have gotten better. I was kind of mentioned this at the beginning. Like, I think we're seeing a lot more women in the sports industry, but I think there's probably still a big stereotype that I play myself into, which is that women don't know nothing about sports. And I don't, not because women don't, but just because I don't, just because I'm not interested in it. But I have best friends who are very into athletics and things like that. So have you faced any challenges being a young female getting into the sports reporting field?
Yeah, I've thought about this before. And to be honest, I wouldn't say I've necessarily faced challenges, more so just things I've had to overcome in my mind, if that makes sense. Like,
Sure.
I think it's more so getting over the fact that I stick out. as a woman in a male dominated industry. You know, there's been times where I've sat down for a meeting and just in my career in general and looked around, and I sat down in the meeting because I looked around and saw that there were men around the conference table and one female, and I took note of that. It was a meeting I didn't have to be in, and I was like, you know what, I don't want her to be the only female voice in here, because as women, I think we do have a different perspective. We look at things a little bit differently. We have a little bit more, not wisdom, but there's just, I think men and women are different. They're created differently. And so I think that, you know, we think of things differently, and in this male dominated field we can bring a different perspective. We can bring something new. So when it comes to, you know, things I've had to overcome and just kind of the stereotype that comes with sports, it's getting over the fact that you stick out. Like when I'm at a game, I stick out. People are going to stare at you. I'm walking around with a videographer following me around, a camera. People are going to be like, who is that? What is she doing? You know, this and that. But, you know, sports have historically, men's sports have gotten more media coverage. You think about football, like baseball, men's basketball, and women's sports are getting a little bit more media coverage, which makes me happy. Right. But, you know, you look at the major sports and they're male dominated. And so, you know, I saw something actually kind of to your point of what you said. I saw something a couple years ago that said like 35% of women don't like watching sports. And so you take out 35% of women, and so even the fan base, there's less women when it comes to sports and things. So I think that really the thing that I've just had to overcome is the fact that you're going to stick out and you have to be okay with that.
Right. You have to be okay with people looking at you. And you said what I think was really great is, you know, women bring in a different perspective. And you had already talked about humanizing the athlete and letting them have a voice and a place to share their story. What better, in my opinion, sex to do that than a woman? You know, like I just think that women, and to your point, we have a different perspective. So if you're going to try to like make someone seen and heard and tell their story, I don't know. I mean, again, maybe I'm getting a little biased myself here, but I think a woman would bring a great perspective to that. So
I agree.
Agree. I think so. You know, have you? And I'm gonna state the obvious. So you're not only a woman in sports, you're a very attractive woman in sports, and I have to imagine that comes with its own challenges in some ways, with potential heckling, oogling, like situations where you are sticking out. If you're walking around, girl, with that long mermaid blonde hair, you know, in a sea full of men, how do you get over people are staring, some potentially inappropriately, we don't know what's going on in their minds, whatever, we block it out. How do you get over that when you're there to do your job?
That's a great question. I think it just comes with my mindset that I'm here to do a job. Nothing else matters. I'm going to focus on my work. People, you know, no matter where you are, whether you're working or you're walking through the aisles of Target or something, like people are going to think whatever they want to think. And that's, you know, kind of the same, taking it out of being an in-person context, like what I'm posting. People are going to think what they're going to think. They might like it, they might hate it. Being at a sporting event or, you know, shooting content outside of the arena or the stadium, there are, you know, eyes on me a lot. But I think it's just the mindset that whatever they say, you know, people have shouted things at me before. People have, you know, looked at me weird or walked past me and said something. And I think it just comes down to like brush it off your shoulders and realize I'm here to do my job. This is work, and I'm professional, and, you know, people, at least here in Louisville, they know my face. They know, you know, they watch my content every single day. So it's weird because they feel like they know me because I show up on their phones every day. But the difference is I don't know them. And so it creates a little bit of a weird dynamic, but it's always fun when you have encouraging fans or encouraging staff members that you walk past them and they say, I've been seeing your content, you're killing it. Or, oh my gosh, you're the girl from Floyd Street Media. Can I do an interview? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So I think that you just have to, in my mind, I brush it off realize I'm here to do my job, and there's people that appreciate my work and love my work, and I love what I'm doing. So no matter what you're doing, there's going to be haters. There's going to be people that say weird things or leave weird comments, but you just got to brush it off and just keep going and focus on the positive.
Speaking of the positive and people who have supported you, have you had any specific mentors, men or women, who have helped you throughout this career or to get to where you are now?
To be honest, not really. I feel like I've kind of built my career for myself, which probably isn't the answer that most people might expect.
If it's the truth, it's the truth. Let's hear it.
Yeah, my family has been so supportive of me along the way, and I've just always, anytime I did something publicly, like whether it was public speaking, I gave a speech at graduation, interviewing on stage as Miss Teen Ohio, or going to speak about a foundation that I started when I was 14 and different things like that. Like there's been opportunities where there's little sprinkles of people that confirm that this is what I should be doing and I'm on the right path. And I think that's just so encouraging. But my family, my parents especially, preached to me my whole career, my whole childhood upbringing. There's nothing that you can't do. As long as you commit to it and you're passionate about it, you can do anything. So I think that that's really just been encouraging, and not necessarily like a career mentor, but more so just the people in my inner circle that have pushed me along the way.
I feel that so deeply. I'm an only child. I'm 37 or 8. I can't remember. But my parents to this day, they're who I call, they're who I run my ideas by, they're who I trust with advice. So I think it's amazing when you have that family support system. It doesn't get any better than that. So I love to hear that. If you were on the flip side, knowing that maybe at this point in time you haven't had a ton of like mentors specifically in your career, which like you said, you're still young in your career too, right? Like there's so much opportunity, but if you had somebody younger coming up, what like advice would you give to a young woman who's just getting into college and she's like, hey Sidney, I love what you do, it looks so fun, how can I do this?
I think when it comes to, because you look on social media, I feel like everybody wants to be an influencer. Heck, I want to be an influencer. Like, come on. But like everybody wants that, but I don't think they realize the work that it takes to do that.
Preach. I was just bitching about that this morning.
No, yeah. And I just got back from the ACC tournament. And so I was like, you know what? Here, I'm making content. I'm going to duplicate it. Like, I'm already shooting myself. I might as well add in, my morning coffee, what I ate for lunch, and because I'm shooting all day, and then use that footage and show people what my life is like. And I think I'm kind of on this role of pushing out content and doing, and, just doing it, Yeah. And I've been on a Mel Robbins kick. Okay.
Oh, aren't we all? We all are. She's yes,
so good.
Girl. Right?
But I heard her say that, she said, your social media is for you. Mm. You're not posting for anybody else. This is your social media. If they don't like what they see, unfollow. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I'm taking that and I'm running with it. This is for me. I'm going to document what I do. I'm going to document these really cool opportunities that I have, like going to the ACC championship game with Louisville Athletics, and March Madness. We play on Thursday in Lexington. I'm going, and so I'm like, let's show people what I'm doing. Not for them, but to kind of have this diary of what my life looked like in this period of time to look back on and say, oh my gosh, I was so young in my career, or oh my gosh, and now look at us a year later, we won the ACC championship, and this is what happened last year. There's so many things that you can do online, but I think it's important to keep in mind that you're doing it for you. And especially when it comes to sports, remembering that the sports industry it's kind of brutal. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's a little bit brutal because it's so fast paced and it's high demand. Like right now, I feel like more than ever, especially with, Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, she's kind of brought this new fan base over to sports, to football, to the NFL, to the Chiefs. And so it's kind of expanding the sports world and into more lifestyle too, a little bit. You can even see with that scenario. But if you aren't passionate about sports and you don't really decide, I'm going to do this because I love it, then I don't think sports is for you, because there's long nights. You're working on the weekends. When do you watch sports? Saturday and Sunday. Like,
Yeah.
it's brutal.
Sure.
But your passion will push you through. If you're passionate about sports, do it. And if you're not, there's other opportunities where you can get on air and you can do, the news, or you can do more lifestyle TV or content or social media content. There's other opportunities if you feel like you're supposed to be on air and you feel like that's what you're called to do. But if you want to be in sports and you want to do on air stuff, I'd say just put yourself out there and just do the dang thing.
We were talking about how you have to be all in to be successful. Yes. We really believe that. You believe that. I believe that. And I think that, to your point, we were connecting on how it's easier to be all in when you love what you're doing. And if you don't love what you're doing, how can you be 100% in on it? So it's like, listen to your gut. What I'm hearing you say is like, listen to your gut and really ask yourself, is this truly what I want at my core? Because if it is, and you do love it, then you can be all in. You're probably going to be good at it. You know what I mean? Just because that passion is there to help drive you in that. So, yeah, I resonate so much with that as well. And it's why I'm not going to be a sports reporter. As cool as it sounds, because it does sound so damn cool, I would fail because I don't even know that North Carolina's like in debacle now. I thought I have them winning my bracket, my March Madness. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't even fill one out. I didn't even fill one out. But, I'm trying to keep up here, Sidney. So, do you think the sports industry is changing for women, whether it's for athletes or reporters? Like, do you think there's a shift? I'd kind of mentioned it. Do you feel it or do you see it?
I think so. I hope so. You can only really go off of your experience. And I feel like I've really paved the way for myself. And I still am. I'm still trying to figure it out. But, think about Erin Andrews. She was, everybody knows. Do you know who she is? Okay, good.
I think so.
Okay, good.
Is she the basketball player?
No, that's Caitlin Clark. Is that Caitlin Clark?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, remind me. I do know Erin Andrews' name.
Erin Andrews. She's an ESPN reporter.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Of course.
Yes.
That's why I know her name.
I love that.
I'm trying.
That just made my day. But Erin Andrews. It's okay. Hey, you learned something new today.
I did a lot, actually. So, all right. Continue. Yes. So, yes, we're talking. Yes. Okay.
Erin Andrews. So she's kind of paved the way for women in sports, especially in sports media. She was kind of the first woman to really do it. I mean, there's obviously people that helped, pave the way before that as well. But I think she was the first one to really come out and kind of start whatever it is now that it is with women, like sideline reporting and halftime interviews and post-game interviews. And then you've also got people that just do social media content and social media interviews. And so there's so many things that I see women doing in the sports industry. And even when I was at Tennessee, it was really encouraging because head football coach Josh Heupel, his head of recruiting, that he came from a different university, a different college, and came to UT during my college years. So he was a new coach, but he brought staff with him, and he brought his director of recruiting with him, and she is a female. And so I think that was just really encouraging that it's not, whether you're in media or not, there's women that work in athletics and in sports. Yeah. There's trainers, there's, female athletic trainers, and there's, I see people in scouting now, in football, and football, it's pretty much just men, coaches. You don't see female football coaches, but there's ways that, because that's a little bit of a weird thing, going to, even as a reporter, going into the locker room,
sure,
it's that's weird, so there's this perfect balance that you kind of have to find. It's really encouraging to see that there's women in athletics, not just in media, but in other areas, that are super valued and super talented and really experienced and have a lot to bring to the table.
I love hearing that, and I love that you have witnessed it in some different ways. And I think, to your point, the way women can show up in athletics can be in a number of different ways. So not just in media, but in training. And that's one thing where I say I can't do sports reporting, but I have always thought it would be really cool to be a sports trainer, like just speed agility training, working with athletes on just their physical delivery of skills and athletics.
Yes.
Maybe one day. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sure if the passion's fully there yet. But is there any story, Sidney? You've done a lot of interviews. You've really tried to humanize athletes. Is there any stories that you've done that stick out to you that really left an impact on you, where you're like, okay, this job it's rewarding. It feels good because you are able to share a story or connect with someone. It just leaves you feeling better for it.
I think the most impactful one is probably the very first one. And it wasn't when I was in sixth grade. Like I mentioned my brother before, and he's 8 years older than me. So I'm 23 right now. He's 31. So I grew up really fast because I had older siblings that kind of helped me mature. I feel like I've always been mature for my age. And he played soccer his whole life. Senior year of high school, the football coach went out to the soccer practice and was like, hey, his name's Josh. Come kick a football. So he went, he kicked a football, through the post, like no problem. And they were like, you're going to be our starting kicker and punter. He was like, all right, I'm in. So I watched him in high school, his senior year. You've got so much ahead of you. You're looking, forward to. You're excited for it. His senior year of high school, he was doing football 2-a-days with soccer practice in between. And
wow.
I was just watching the meal prepping he was doing as a 17, 18-year-old, like meal prepping, the dedication that it took, and the grit that he had to have to get through that. He ended up deciding not to play soccer, but then went on in college to go 10-0. Like they won every game, was a 4-year starter all of college, and then watch him go to NFL combines and get scouted by NFL agents and teams. Obviously, he didn't end up going to the NFL. He chose to go a different route just because he wasn't, the best in the group. But
sure.
Watching him just go through that.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And just watching him take those opportunities after starting so late in the game, that was really cool. And to watch his mentality and how he carried himself and operated, I thought that was really cool because, taking it from a fan standpoint, if you're watching that and he misses a field goal, they go, oh my gosh, he's terrible. It's like, right. That's probably the 50th football he's ever kicked in his life. You don't know, it's just cool. So I think that watching him evolve and do that was the coolest story in my experience, because it really showed me a different side of athletics and sports and the athletes and what it really takes to do something out on that field. So
absolutely,
it was so cool watching him do that. And I have another story if you want to hear it.
Let's hear it. I want to. Yeah, let's hear it.
So my brother obviously played football in college, and he was my inspiration. I was in sixth grade. So I was 12, 13, and I was just like, oh my gosh, he's my big brother. He's so awesome. Well, we had this friend group, and he was out on the field, and we were at one of the games, and there was a late hit from the other team on one of my brother's best friends. He ended up breaking his leg in a bunch of different places, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Josh's friend. That's terrible. Brought the ambulance out, took him. He had multiple different surgeries, ended up having to get his leg amputated. Oh. And to think at 19 years old, losing your leg over not even a play during the game is heartbreaking and really hard. But then watching him come back and play on the field with I don't know what it's called, but play.
Like the prosthetic.
Yes. Play with his prosthetic. It was just so cool. It was so cool. And that's a story that I think is touching in so many ways. And, just being able to be the one to help share that story and kind of dig into the background of athletes and different things, just my brother, and then that story of what we experienced of my brother's best friend really showed me a side of athletes and dedication and mindset and the physical demand that has on you in your life is crazy. And it's really, really moving, and you would watch him on the field a lot different now that you know that story. So I think that that's the coolest part about it is I'm passionate about storytelling. I'm like, let me tell you another story.
Yeah.
But I think it's so cool to hear stories and hear about people's lives. And yes, I love talking, and I love sharing about what I do, but ultimately I love telling other people's stories so that we all have a story to tell. And I think that if we're open to listen and hear it, we will be better because of it.
That's so beautiful. And you brought up an emotion that I feel related to sports, and I may not know the players or the reporters or which teams should or should not be in the March Madness bracket. But one thing that I have always fully appreciated about sports and athletics is, to your point, it is the grind and the grit that goes into it. It is like the tenacity to like not give up. And I think that that's where I don't follow closely, but I'm here to listen to the stories that people like you have to share, because that to me is where inspiration is found, hope is found. And it's one of those things where it's like if a player loves what he does so much and gets so severely injured that he loses a leg and then comes back, like what does that teach? That teaches us so much about life. And I think that's like the beautiful thing about athletics, sports, and then the stories that go along with it that you've dedicated your life to sharing. So thank you for sharing all of these pieces and bits, Sidney, with us. Let me ask, what is next for your career? Can you say, maybe you can't say what the dream, like maybe you're there, or maybe there's like another like goal, dream, and I don't know what you're allowed to share or not share, but what do you feel like the future holds for you? What does your path look like?
Well, I'm very forward-minded. Yes, I have my goals down the road, but I'm also very good at living in the moment. And I think right now is a super exciting time because Louisville basketball, we just got a new head coach this past year. It's his first year, and he was voted ACC Coach of the Year. And then, to know that he's the coach in the conference that got Coach of the Year, like that's a very, very big thing. And that's the first time Louisville's ever gotten ACC Coach of the Year in program history. So it's really cool. There's this new energy here. It's, their phrase is revival, and the last part is Ville because it's Louisville. So I think that it's just so cool. And we're in March Madness. We were put in as an 8 seed, which also, hot take, just letting you know this now, people are mad about that. Okay.
Do they want Louisville higher or lower?
They should have been. In all of history, like I'll send you this once you turn the podcast off. But it's really cool. This guy broke down every single year that Louisville, or that a number 13, we were ranked 13 on the AP poll. A number 13 has what seed they fell in for March Madness in the last 10 years, and every single one is a 3, 4, or a 5 seed, and we are an 8. That's the highest seed that. Like we should have gotten a better ranking.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I'm going to get off my soapbox now. But March Madness is here. I'm going to, like I said earlier, I'm going to Lexington to cover the game on Thursday. If we win, we will play on Saturday. And so that'll be really, really fun, and just really enjoying this postseason basketball hype. March Madness, like it's actually madness. It's crazy right now. But, I've got my podcast going, Athlete Unscripted with Sidney Depp, and it's super fun. I love that. I shoot an episode a week, and I've got a new show coming out called the Soapbox series. Funny enough, I just said soapbox, so that was ironic.
It's on brand for you. Here we go.
Yes, I know. So it's going to be like a fun car wash show, going through a car wash. We got a sponsor it's a car wash. So
love that.
Just kind of doing that, and it's going to be really, really fun. I'm super excited, but lots of fun things coming.
Yes, and so you shared a little bit about is it Athletes Unscripted or Athlete singular?
Athlete singular.
Okay, Athlete
Yes.
Unscripted, and it's, I'm guessing, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the major
Yes.
podcast streaming sites.
Yep.
And how else can people find you, follow you, get connected with you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. It's just at Sidney Depp with an I, not a Y. And you can also follow Floyd Street Media on TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, all of the above, and that's where that's where I'll be. But my personal content, I'm kind of, like I said, like on my little influencer movement. So you can kind of see both sides of what happens on and off the camera on my pages, which I think is a little bit fun. So yeah, go follow me, follow along, and I'm super excited to see the podcast and for what's next in women in sports media.
Yes, and I'll link all of the handles below. Okay, Sidney, last moment. If you've got a story or a mic drop, words of advice, last thing to leave the listeners with that they remember you by, what would you tell them? What advice would you give? What quote would you give? What story would you tell if you had one more moment?
Oh geez. Well, I was trying to brainstorm a little bit before this of just funny stories. I'll share a funny story and then I'll give my last spiel for you.
Let's go for it.
In 8th grade, I was voted most likely to have my own talk show.
We love when those things come true.
Yes, it's a very full circle moment. It's very fun looking back and saying, oh my gosh, like these people saw it. Kind of like what I was saying, the people in my life have just kind of given me little bits of encouragement, and whether it's a stranger or my family that have kind of pushed me along the way. So I think that the people that you surround yourself with will reflect energy. What energy you give, they say the 5 people you hang around are who you're most like. And so I think surrounding yourself with great people and encouraging people and passionate people are, some of they're the most important people in your life because they will have a very big impact on you. So I think surround yourself with great people that motivate you and push you, and don't settle, because everybody is put on this earth for a reason, and don't settle into something that you're not passionate about. If you love it, you should do it. I think you should wake up every day and be excited to do what you love to do and just do it. So yes, there's going to be hard days. Yes, there's going to be things that you have to push through and get over, and might make you cry, might make you mad. But at the end of the day, do you love what you do? And if you do, then I'd say that's a win.
Beautiful final parting words. Very on brand with the Samantha Show, so I appreciate that plug at the end. We follow our passions, we follow our dreams. And Sidney, it was so good to catch up with you. Thank you so much for taking time, because I know you're busy because we are getting into March Madness and all the crazy sports stuff. So I appreciate you. Everybody else who is listening, have a great day because you deserve it.